Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a huge thank you to Ollie Hinn for sending in some awesome pictures of his pure infantry Imperial Guard army. Ollie has been a long time follower of this channel, one of the first commenters I think I ever had, in fact, and it's absolutely fantastic for me to finally get some awesome pictures of his pure infantry guard army. You are one of those brave, beautiful sons of bitches that have taken the road and taken that descent into madness that is pure infantry guard army, Ollie, and I absolutely love it. I think you've done an absolutely amazing job on this paint scheme. Every single trooper painted to such a beautiful standard. Hopefully I'm not making you blush too much, but I really like this this army, really like this colour scheme. I always say this, guys, a perfectly done, a well done Caden colour scheme. Classic Caden colour scheme. Looks really good, and you've done that here. So thank you, Ollie, for sending these pictures in. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, please post them on my Facebook page or email them to me. Both of those links and email addresses will be down in the description below. One other thing which I always forget to mention, but I'm making a bit more of an effort now. Massive thank you to all the patrons that support this channel. I have no monetization on any of my videos, which is great because it means I can say whatever the hell I want. But this entire channel is funded by just lovely, kind, and awesome Patreons. And yeah, you guys are awesome. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, as always, link down in the description below. Right, shameless plug over. Let's get on for what you're here. Let's get into the tactics video. Now today, guys, I want to take, it's almost like a two-part video, okay? I want to take a look at the new updated secondary Bring It Down, the one that gets you points for killing vehicles. I can never remember if it's called Bring It Down or Big Game Hunter, but anyway, it's Bring It Down, I'm sure it is. And we're going to take a look at that and how, after a few days of mulling it over and thinking about it, how I actually think it's best to be used, and does it work better in Met Guard? We'll see. And I also want to talk about this new crazy idea that I have for running a competitive guard list based on the new Bring It Down secondary objective. Okay? So first thing, let's take a look at almost reality versus expectations. What do we think is the situation with the new Bring It Down rule? Okay, Bring It Down secondary. For those of you that aren't aware of what happened, I did do a video on it, but the long story short is the amount of secondaries that enemies can score against you has gone down, and the amount of secondaries you can score against enemies who are vehicle heavy has gone down. So it used to be for each vehicle with less than 10 wounds that is killed, you get 2 points, and if the enemy's taken against you, that means each Chimera, each Sentinel, each of these light vehicles gives 2 victory points away. And then also, if a vehicle's got 11 or more wounds, then it gives away 3 points. That's what it used to be, and it's changed now so that it's gone down by 1 point across the board. So if the vehicle's got 10 wounds or less, you give away 1 point. If the vehicle has got 11 wounds to 19 wounds, it gives away 20 wounds. Sorry, it gives away 2 points. Then really big vehicles give away 3 points. So when I was looking at this, I was like, right, okay, this is really cool. Definitely, it's good for tanks. It's good for Met Guard. Infantry and chimeras. Maybe that's back on the field, baby. But then I started realizing, I was like, oh yeah, Steel Legion, my Steel Legion army. Finally, maybe it'll come out to play. But then I started to realise that because the Bring It Down secondary still crosses over and can still be taken at the same time as the Thin the Ranks secondary, things haven't actually got much better. Met Guard still isn't in a great place. So whereas I was thinking Steel Legion and Chimeras are back in town, I then realised, well, that Chimera is going to give away 1 point for Bring It Down. It's then also, because it's got 10 wounds, it still gives away a point within their ranks. So that Chimera still gives away 2 victory points. And then you have the squad inside, which also, if fully killed, gives away a victory point within the ranks. So that little package, that little 150 point package, squad and a Chimera, that's roughly, how much it costs with a double heavy flamer and whatnot. that is still giving away 3 victory points. That's not ideal. Now that doesn't mean the enemy is going to be able to max them out, and you could turn up with 10 heavy flamer chimeras. Yeah, that's probably still a relatively good idea, but it still means that if you turn up with 10 heavy flamer chimeras, that the enemy from just killing your chimeras can earn 20 victory points. And so then when you realise, well, oh, okay, well, that's not ideal then. And then when so just from killing your chimeras, the enemy with the infantry squads inside, the enemy will max out one of the thin the ranks, and will max out and will get 10 points for bring it down. Now, obviously, you might say, well, you're not going to take 10 chimeras. You could say 6 chimeras and a couple of Leman Russes. You're still in the same situation. So, unfortunately, from what I can see, because thin the ranks still crosses over with Big Game Hunter, with Bring It Down. I mean, it's terrible. It still doesn't work until they fix that fundamental flaw. It's just not worth it, because it means every Leman Rush you take can still give away 3 victory points. 1 for thin the ranks, and 2 for Bring It Down. Which means that it's still very easy for your opponent to max out both Bring It Down and thin the ranks in a mechanized or armoured guard force, or even a combined arms force. If you run a guard arm which has the standard 100 infantry, and then you take 3 or 4 chimeras and 3 or 4 Leman Russes, they're maxing out in the ranks again, and they're pretty close to, they're pretty close to maxing out, if not maxing out, Bring It Down. So, whilst I think things are better, and the enemy's going to have to work a little harder for it, still going to have to work hard for it, and whilst the enemy may not max it out every single time, because maybe they have to table you to max it out, they still get a lot of victory points for just doing what they want to do, which is just kill you. So you're still bleeding secondaries as a guard. So, it's like a little shot in the arm, but it's probably more of a placebo and a feeling of things being better than things actually being better. Right. So that's where I was sort of at the end of, middle of this week. And I was like, that's such a shame, solitary tear, a solitary Steel Legion tear just forming on my cheek. But then I literally had a brainwave, and it could be madness, guys. Because the first part of the video, you could stop this video here and be like, it's still shit, and we could, whatever. But I want to take things in another direction. I want to have a bit of a mad scientist moment with you guys. And, I would really appreciate the feedback that I get on this, because at the moment, we're in the theory craft stages. And normally what I would do is I'd take my theory craft, I'd apply it to half a dozen games on the battlefield, I'd homogenize it, and then I'd bring it to you guys as a genuine strategy. But I can't do that because of the current UK lockdown. And also, if I do that, then the guy that I spend all this time and effort trying to find if this thing is worth it, and the Games Workshop employee who I am convinced spies on this channel and nerfs every tactic that I come up with, will nerf it. So if it's not a proven thing yet, he can't nerf it, right? For psychology, maybe. Some sort of psychology. I don't know. Anyway, mad idea, okay? Can war, but for guard. Some of you might be thinking, can wall? What the hell's a can wall? A wall made of pop cans? Of soda cans? No. Okay. Can wall is an old orc tactic. That's right, guys. We're looting tactics from the orcs. We looted the orcs, Taurox. Now we're going to loot their tactics. Okay. So can wall used to be a thing that orcs could do with loads and loads of killer cans, and it basically meant that they marched all the orc boys up behind this wall of killer cans, and it meant that you had to charge this wall of cans, which weren't exactly easy to kill, and there was some other addition. This is an old 5th, 6th edition tactic. You used to get cover from being behind your own units, all this kind of stuff. It was great. But also, so you had this basically this like outer shield of walkers that the infantry walked up behind. Well, what if we do the same thing But instead of killer cans, we do it with sentinels. Right? Yeah, I got you. You're interested. What am I thinking? Well, I'm thinking that now that bring it down is only 1 point per sentinel killed, you could take 9 sentinels, 9 armoured sentinels, and even if the enemy kills all of them, they're only getting 9 points, which is not a particularly attractive pick for an enemy player. Most secondary objectives that an enemy high-scoring tournament competitive player wants to do, he wants to be getting at least 10 victory points per secondary that he picks. At least. You know, most winning lists will be scoring every single game 70 to 80 victory points, and many of those they want to be able to just guarantee. They want to be guaranteeing like 40 primary and, you know, at least 30 secondary, at least. Okay. But if you take something like Sentinels, then they're only going to get 9 points. You could take 8. You know, 9, even if you maxed it out, they're only going to get 9. But if you take 8, then it's really unattractive. Taking 8, you know, getting 8 victory points for a secondary is like picking, what is it, First Strike, where you get 5 for killing a unit and an extra 3 or something if you killed more than the enemy turn 1. No one picks that one because the most you can get from it is 8. It's got a ceiling. So if we apply that logic to the Sentinel bring it down thing, and you're like, these are the only vehicles I'm going to take. I'm going to take 9 vehicles, but they're all going to be Sentinels. Okay, and that means that they can only score 9 victory points to bring it down. 8 to 9 if you take 8 to 9. The other cool thing about this, though, is that none of those Sentinels, nil, give away any significant points for thin the ranks. Because all of the Sentinels have got less than 10 wounds, they only contribute the same amount of points towards thin the ranks as a guardsman, as an ogrin or bulgrin. Okay, which means if the enemy kills all 9 of your Sentinels, they won't even achieve 1 thin their ranks points. Yeah? That's starting to sound like that's kind of interesting. How are we going to run these Sentinels? I was thinking, let's keep it simple. If they're going to be at the front, then let's give them heavy flamers. Let's do it. Now something might be like, what the hell, armoured Sentinels? Sentinels are these light, fragile things that die in a heartbeat. Not necessarily. A couple of things. Firstly, armoured Sentinels are one of those just surprisingly annoying to kill unit. They're like the Nurglings of Guard, okay? They take more than they should do to die. Okay, and there are certain regiment traits you can take with them, like Steel Legion, if you're thinking about, you know, Steel Legion. Steel Legion would actually work quite well with this army, which mean you ignore AP -1. So just to go through the Armed Sentinel really quickly, you know, it's got, you know, weapon skill 4, it's got ballistic skill 4, whatever, you don't care. Its strength is 5, it's, you know, it's all right, you don't really care about that. Its toughness, very importantly, is 6. Okay, it's toughness 6. Now, why is that really important? Well, everyone's spamming heavy bolters these days. Heavy bolters would wound your Scalp Sentinels on 4s, but they wound your Armored Sentinels on 5s and 6s. So it is harder to kill them. It's a big difference. They also have 6 wounds, which is nice, which means a squad of 3 has got 18 wounds, which is nice. And they have a 3+ save. Other thing that actually makes them really, really durable, like I said, is you can pick certain regiment traits. Steel Legion Armoured Sentinels are a ball ache to kill. And I can telling you this not just from a theocrat point of view. There's a reason why my tournament winning Steel Legion, well, tournament competitive, I'm not going to exaggerate, Steel Legion army has 4 Armoured Sentinels in it. I was running Armoured Sentinels when they weren't considered very good, and I got best in faction at a 100-player tournament where there were like a dozen guard players. So I'm not doing that to, you know, break my arm wanking myself off. I'm using that as an example of these things actually work, and there's a reason I take them, because I used to take Steel Legion Sentinels, put them in cover, and they were impossible to shift because they were 2+ save, and they had ignore AP -1. Now, they fell out of favour a little bit when Marines were in Devastator Doctrine for days, but Marines aren't in Devastator Doctrine for days anymore. No, they ain't. So they're kind of interesting. So I would take Armour Sentinels, and that's another way that they can be durable. Another last thing that makes them very nice is that they have a stratagem now in Psychic Awakening the Greater Good called Deft Maneuvers. Uno CP. 1 CP, you put it on a unit of Armour Sentinels and they halve all damage. Not -1, they halve all damage rounding up. Now, why is that significant? Okay, that's the really big one. Okay, and we'll come back to that in a second. No, we'll focus on that now, goddammit. Let's get the drawbridge stuff out of the way. Why is that so powerful? Now, I may be, not the best at maths. As someone pointed out in the last video, I got the difference between radius and diameter I got them mixed up. So there you go. Maths is hard, right, guys? But so please feel free to check my math. Fact check me, guys. If you have a unit of Armour Sentinels and they are shot at by Eradicators, and let's say those Eradicators are within half range, okay, so they're getting the D6 +2, okay. A squad of 3 Eradicators, now 3, people are still on the fence between taking 3 and 5, so 5 is good, but let's go with a squad of 3 for now. I believe it would take a squad of 3 Eradicators that have to hit with every shot, wound with every shot, and max damage with every shot in order to kill a single Armoured Sentinel squad. Okay, now let me back that up with the math hammer. A single Eradicator, if they're all firing at the same target, so a squadron of 3 Sentinels, gets 2 shots with their Melter Rifles. The Melter Rifles are strength 8, they're AP -4, and they do D6 +2 damage. So if your opponent goes to shoot at you with these Eradicators and you play Deft Maneuvering, you halve the damage that they do, which means each Eradicator shot, assuming it hits and assuming it wounds, can do a maximum of 8 damage, which is then halved, which becomes 4 damage, which means that they then have to use their second shot, and they have to hit, and they have to wound, and then they're going to kill it because then they're going to kill it, because if they get a 3 damage rounding up, that's 2. But it means that each Eradicator has to hit and wound and get maximum damage with both shots in order to kill 1 Armoured Sentinel. That's quite tough. Now, I believe the averages are slightly lower than that. I believe that the average you're going to get is even if you hit and wound with every shot, the average damage you're going to get is like 3 + 2, which is 5, which becomes 3 damage. So if the Eradicators hit and wound with every shot, the average is they're gonna get you anyway. So fair enough. But the point is that they still have to hit and wound with every shot. And if you're using a squad of 3 Eradicators, they've got 6 shots. Well, actually, they're wounding on. They're not as easy to get rerolls on these days. I think you can get reroll 1s fairly easily with Marines, but the way they've done in Chapter Masters, you can only get full rerolls on 1 unit. But so the point is that they're going to get full rerolls on 1 unit, but then that unit still only hits on 3s and still only wounds on 3s. So realistically, they should drop 1 shot to hit and 1 shot to wound, which means a squad of Eradicators, unless they take a big 5-man squad, isn't going to kill a Sentinel squad. It's not going to do it. It might kill 1, it might kill 2, it might kill 1.5. But it's unlikely to kill all 3. The statistics is a squad of 3 Eradicators is unlikely to kill a squad of 3 Sentinels. And the crazy thing is that Eradicators and Sentinels cost about the same. So that's actually quite good trading. Now obviously you can only do Deft Maneuvering on 1 squad, so fair enough, they might start targeting the other 2 squads that you've got. But the point I'm trying to make is they are very, very durable. You can make them durable. Okay? Which is cool. Now, you use those 9 Sentinels to make a really durable front rank. The other good thing about Armour Sentinels is they're surprisingly fast. They actually move 8 inches. Scout Sentinels move 9 inches, and Armored Sentinels still move 8 inches, which is really good. It's actually very nice. Most Walkers only move 6 inches, but Armored Sentinels move 8, because they're still recon units at the end of the day. So the way I was planning on this, so I've gone through all my math and everything. Let's kick this into the next gear. You take these 9 Armored Sentinels, these surprisingly durable things, and you give each one of them a heavy flamer. And because now heavy flamer's got a 12-inch range. Okay, so the plan is you march these things up, and you know, turn 1 you may not get into flamer range. So turn 1 you're going to happily move and advance these things. Okay, which is fine. The enemy, if they then choose to try and charge your Sentinel wall, they're going to eat 3 heavy flamers on Overwatch. Okay, which is nice. And then if the enemy's like, oh, I'm going to tie these vehicles up in combat, your heavy flame sentinels are like, I don't care. I can flame into combat. It's not a blast weapon. And they just hold the hose down, and they just flame into the faces of the enemy. So it's a wall which it's a vehicle which the enemy can't really tie up, and you don't really care. Because at the end of the day, even if you take 9 armoured sentinels, you're still only spending about 400 points on this big old wall, this big old thing. And sentinel bases are quite big, so you can make a really effective can wall with these things. So you've got this wall, which is pretty cheap. It trades pretty well with some of the best anti-armor guys in the game. If it dies, you don't really care. And if people want to try and charge it and tie it up, again, you don't really care, because they're just going to flame into combat. Now, some people will then throw the argument in, and it's a valid argument, but Mordian Glory, the big thing about Sentinels is that they're very easy to tri-point. They're very easy, what that means is they're very easy to surround to stop your guard army from then shooting in, because the Sentinels can't escape unless you're willing to use the stratagem Desperate Breakout. Well, first off, I should say, you do have the stratagem Desperate Breakout, so it is no longer a death sentence to have your Sentinels up front. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing to say is, what is going to be behind those Sentinels? What's going to be behind the Sentinels is the second line of this can wall. But this time it's not Sentinels, it's Bullgryns. That's right. Normally what people do is they have their Bullgryns up front, because Bullgryns are really tough. But the problem I found with that, guys, is that you kind of want your Bullgryns to be able to smash heads. You also tend to find that your Bullgryns, because they're a bit slow for an assault unit, they tend to get picked on. And what tends to happen with a lot of Bullgryn units is the enemy gets the drop on them. Now, it is a testament to how tanky Bullgryns are, which is they don't really care if the enemy charges them, because they're generally tough enough to just ride it out. Especially if you've got a 2+ armor save, or a 3+ invulnerable save, thanks to Psychic Barrier on the invulnerable save guys. They tend to be quite happy with being charged, and I have seen with my own eyes Khan the Betrayer charge into a unit of 3 Bullgryns, and he didn't even kill a Bullgryn. No, he killed 1 Bullgryn, sorry, and then the Bullgryns turned around and smacked him in the face because they do 2 damage each and killed him. Okay, so Bullgryns are really good. They are the sort of epitome of the guard get hit hard but they hit back harder. They're really good at doing that. But what if your Bullgryns didn't have to be charged every time? What if your Bullgryns had a nice cheap can wall in front of them? So what happens is the enemy charges in and they think they're being oh so clever by tri-pointing your Sentinels, or they kill all the Sentinels, whatever. But then your Bullgryns can countercharge, because your Bullgryns are part of the second line. And even if the enemy is able to sort of wrap around the Sentinel wall a bit and start getting into the Bullgryns, they're not going to, the Sentinels are in the way. So they're unlikely to be able to get everything into the Bullgryns. It's not going to be a clean charge into those Bullgryns with everything that they want. The Sentinels are going to be getting in the way. So best case scenario is they charge Sentinels, kill most of them and trap the rest. And then your Bullgryns just go in. Now, how many Bullgryns am I talking? I'm talking a minimum of 15. Possibly 18. I haven't yet decided, guys, what's the best way of doing this. Running 3 units of sort of 5 or 6, or running 2 units of 9. I suspect it'll be 2 units of 9, because what you can do is you can have, it allows you to maximise your buffs where your Bulgans can, you know, you can put Psychic Barrier, you can put Take Aim, you can put Night Shroud on them. If one unit of Bulgans is just slightly in front of the other unit of Bulgans, then they can give the unit behind a -1. There's loads of things you can do because of the stratagem Wall of Flesh. So yeah, it's really cool. And the great thing about the sort of Bulgan counterattack is it means the Bulgans get to really flex the muscles. Now, Bulgans with 3 attacks are tasty. Bulgans with 4 attacks, as the pre-snip by, are very tasty. Bulgans with 5 attacks each because of the Avalanche of Muscle special, which gives them an extra attack on the charge, plus the Priest, plus the 3 base. Don't forget the Bonehead's got 4 attacks base. That is delicious. It's not just tasty, that is exquisite. It's delicious. It's like gourmet. That's like Michelin style. Halfling. You know, the Ratlings cooked up something good from the stolen rations. Delicious. You know, that's how good it is. The great thing is that the enemy can't really tri-point you, because you're a combat guard army essentially. Now, if you take 18 Bulgans and you take 9 Armor Sentinels and Heavy Flamers, it is going to cost you. And I'm going to recheck my maths here. I know you guys love the Morning Glory on the fly maths, so I'm not going to deny that for you. Okay, you spend 1,035 points. It's actually only about 640 points for the. No, it must be more than that. It's about 600 or 700 points for the Bulgans. They're so cheap now. They're so very cheap. But that's 1,000 points, and you have got 18 Bulgans, which is already very competitive. Okay, it's already nice, and then you have your Sentinels in front of them. That is you playing the elite infantry game there, son. If 9th edition is all about the elite infantry, then let me tell you, if anyone, you know, I always say this: anything any faction can do, Guard can do better. It just takes a little while to reprogram our brains. We're used to the tanks. We're used to the waves of infantry. But if, by God, Games Workshop, if you want to make us do an elite infantry style list, I'll give you an elite infantry style list, and it'll work. Okay, it'll be tasty. After that, it's kind of like season for your choice. I mean, you want to bear in mind that you don't want to be giving away too many thin the ranks points. So this is one of the few lists where I would advocate that you could probably get away with something like 80 guardsmen. If you start taking like 100 guardsmen, you start making thin the ranks look nice again, because if you took 100 guardsmen and then you took you know, your Ogrins as well, you're starting to get into the, and then the Sentinels, you're starting to get into the realms of being able, if the enemy will be able to get 12 thin the ranks points off you, which makes it quite tempting. And you don't want to give the enemy any easy choices. That's the thing. You don't want to make the enemy's secondary choice against you easy. You want to look at those Sentinels and go, oh, well, if I bring it down, I'm only going to get 8 or 9 points. That's not very good. You look at your SU and go, if I take thin the ranks, I'm only going to be getting like maybe 9 or 10 points for it. If I table him, that's not very good. And the enemy don't like to table you with 18 Hadrian Bulgars and you know whatnot. So yeah, so I would say this is one of the few armies where you could get away with between maybe even 60 infantry. 60, 70, 80 infantry. You know, definitely something to consider. And if you're going Steel Legion, think about this. Your Sentinels all your armed Sentinels are Nori AP -1, which is nice, and all your infantry have got an 18-inch rapid fire, and they form part of that third wave. That's pretty nice. But plasma gun, you know, in each squad, that's pretty good. You could give each squad a heavy weapon, so that each squad doesn't quite give away a thin the ranks point, because they technically only got 9 models in the unit rather than 10. That's pretty good. But I would look at this and maybe think like, okay, I'll take some fire support units, you know, to guard the old home objectives. Maybe a couple of just guardsman squads that got, you know, as well to guard their objectives. But I'm going to push up with, you know, with 60 infantry. And then you're like, okay, well, if I'm only taking 60 infantry, you can fit this all in 1 battalion, which is already, that's quite nice. Or you can fit it in a brigade or battalion, doesn't really matter. That opens up options for Scions. that opens up the options for sounds, and sounds are really are very good because they pack a very nice punch in a relatively small and points efficient package. Sounds are probably now one of the better guard units. One of the better. I'd say pure sounds is now, for the first time in a while, as good, if not in some builds better, than pure infantry guard. They're really good scions now, especially Land and Lions. So you could either take the scions in a brigade and not lose any command points, but your scions wouldn't get any regiment traits, or you could take your scions in a separate detachment and they get the regiment traits, but you're going to start 3 CP down. Well, starting 3 CP down isn't the end of the world. But that's really it. It's kind of like once you've got you've got these like 60 guardsmen and these ogrins and you've got these sentinels, you can season your fire support how you wish. Now, some people are going to say, but Mordian Glory, you don't have a strong turn 1 punch. And I would reply to them, that's very true, I don't have a strong turn 1 punch. But 9th edition it's not all about that strong turn 1 punch anymore. And a really good example of this is Death Guard. Okay, Death Guard actually don't have a lot of long range firepower. They can. You can take like certain units like Plague Burst Claws and whatnot. But some of the strongest things about Death Guard these days is things like the Terminators and the Plague Marines, and those guys wandering into the middle of the board and just dominating on primaries and secondaries. That they don't need to kill much, and they do really well. And they are very killy, but they don't need to do it. They just do it because they can. You want to be trying to be almost like, this is a Death Guard, a Guard army. This is Death Guard, but not Traitor Marines. This is just a deathly powerful Guard army. Maybe. It's all theorycraft at the moment, guys. I will caveat it with that. So that's kind of the thing. But you can imagine your opponent, he's only going to get 9 or 10th in the rank points against you. He's only going to get maybe 8 or 9. But you want to make sure he's getting less than 10 from each secondary. That's the thing, if possible. If he tables you and he ends up getting 10th in the ranks, then that's okay. But you don't want to, you want him to, on average, only be able to score like 6 or 7 thin the rank points against you. And if he's shooting all your guardsmen up to try and get thin the ranks points, then he's going to have a lot of Bullgrins doing horrible things to him. And Sentinels doing horrible things to him. Sentinels in combat are great because they just keep flaming. So there you go, guys. Now, there's one last thing I want to give an honourable mention to. Now, you can do this tactic with Sentinels if you want to do a pure guard army. Okay? If you are open to the idea of allies, then you can consider Sisters of Battle penitent engines to do the job of the Sentinels. They cost 5 points more than the Sentinel, and they are significantly more killy. So each one gets 2 heavy flamers. So already, that's a lot of Overwatch damage. It's a lot of getting stuck in combat damage. So each one has got 2 heavy flamers. They've got 2 penitent engine close combat weapons, which are like Dreadnought. They're good. They're like Dreadnought close combat weapons. It's actually good at combat. Which the Sentinel isn't. So it can double the flame, it can do combat. The one problem with the penitent engines is they're not overly durable. Okay, they really struggle on the durability front. So if I load them up now, they have only got toughness 5, so not toughness 6 at the Sentinel. They've only got 5 wounds. They've only got a 4+ save, so they are 1 pip of durability in every durability stat. Now they do have they don't get a 6-up Faith Invulnerable save either, because they just don't. They do get a 5+ Feel No Pain, which is very nice. But I'm not sure that's as good as Steel Legion Armour Sentinels. I'm not sure it's as good as that. I think the penitent engine and they only move 7 inches, so they're slower they're slower, they're nowhere near as durable, and they but they are more killy. Now, the only thing I think it's totally valid to use these things. Okay, the only thing I would say is they are 5 points more expensive, so you are spending 45 points more on your list, which is something to be considered. I mean, that's 9 plasma guns for your infantry squads, or whatever you take. And the other thing to mention is that the point of the can wall is not necessarily to be killy. The point of the can wall is to be as durable as possible for as few points as possible. So it's kind of why, that's kind of it basically. So it's something to keep in mind. I just think having this double shield, like this double energy shield of armor sentinels, durable armor sentinels plus Bulgrins, and then the infantry behind, I just can't see there being a lot of armies out there which can which can easily overwhelm that when you're fighting over the centre of the board. I don't, and it's not easy to score against. So you've stopped the secondary bleed, you're winning on the whole primary thing, and you can pick your secondaries to have a great time. Your secondaries are going to have a really great time because you can pick engage in all fronts because you can drop your scions down where you want. You know, your infantry can move around the sides. You know, you can pick raise the banners because you're very likely to be holding lots and lots of flags. You know, I just think it's a really, really strong list. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because this video is coming up to being quite a long one. And I probably could have kept it really short. Oh, Sentinels, Bulgrins, infantry, they're really durable. Do the rest of the research yourself. But I just wanted to sort of work through this mad bonkers idea with you guys. And I wanted to go into as much depth as possible talking about what's the best like Legion traits for this. I think I've talked about Steel Legion. I think Catachans would do well as well because your guardsmen get the strength 4 and your sentinels get to reroll the random number of shots and heavy flamers. I think you could take Pyromaniacs. Weird, but I think you could take Pyromaniacs on this and give all your squads like flamers and just be like, I'm just going to flame, and Bulgrins will be my anti-tank, I guess. And you could take the reroll random number of shots for your vehicles as well. You could take the reroll random number of shots custom regiment trait and wilderness survivors, or to make your infantry more durable, or if you're going for the most durable list you can, or and then you can start looking at conscripts as well with that, or you could take the the disciplined shooters and the random number of reroll random number of shots. Other traits that would work well with this, I think that's pretty much, they're the main ones. Cadian, you're kind of going to be on the move a lot, although Cadian with the Lost Relic Acadia is nice. Yeah, I think to be honest, it's Catachan or the Lord's Approval Guard thing. The slum lords, where you take Lord's Approval and slum fighters. Yeah, but I think to be honest, Steel Legion and Catachan are probably your best bets here. Steel Legion if you want to be durable and you want your infantry to be your main source of fire support. And because you could swap those infantry squads out for 3 squads of veterans and just run them up the board. Because again, the enemy is going to be, the enemy's got to target those Bulgrins. Otherwise, those Bulgrins are going to do horrible things to them. So yeah, there's loads of ways you can play it. I don't know what's necessarily the best way to run this. I would love some feedback. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you think it could work? Do you think it's a bad idea? Who knows? I'm going to end the video here now. Thank you guys for watching. Please let me know what you think. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.